It's movie time, and we're back again with movie time. Hey, everyone, and welcome back, and happy I believe it's Friday. Yes, it is Friday to us. It's like, oh my gosh, our week has gone by real fast. And tonight we have another incredibly interesting show for you guys, along with my co-host, Arpo. Hey, Arpo, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. We had a wonderful, beautiful, glorious day today. I do regret to say that I did not have time to work on the real discovery this week as much as I would have liked to, not just due to work things, but also due to a number of illnesses. So there will be no real discovery tonight. But,
Aww.
And we do the sad
did we
thing.
get to film your did we get to film your chase scene? Do you want it to be without your chase scene? Well, then we can't show it tonight, can we? Okay. He's okay now.
Excellent. He has been appeased. And also my co-host, Olaf. Hey, Olaf, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic.
Are you roasting it in the state of Indiana today?
Yeah, it's like, yeah. Well, today I didn't roast near as bad as I have most of the week because today I pretty well stayed in the truck and with the air conditioning, so I didn't have to get out much.
Very cool.
So I didn't roast today. Yeah, it's like the other 4 days of the week, yes, I roasted, but yeah, in the great state of Indiana here, it's like I was not roasting today.
Very cool. Yeah, and also today, it's like the meter was playing a really interesting game with us. Started out in the morning at 70. 70 went out to 80. 80 went to 86, then back down to 70, and then shot up to 90.
Oh.
Yeah. It was kind of playing around like that here, too.
Yeah, it was like this own little cat and mouse game. Like, are you sure you can go outside? No, you can't.
It's like, oh, it's cool outside. We can go outside. And you open the door. It's like, no, it not. It changed.
Yep, we're into the barbecuing now.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, the other reason why today was such a great day, The Defenders has premiered on Netflix.
Ah.
And for those of you who don't like the Avengers because they're too slick, the Defenders are much, much grittier. I do recommend giving them a chance.
Interesting. Yes, it's like, and today it's like I had the lovely pleasure of understanding the American medical system at work, at its finest.
Dun, dun, dun.
And now, a brief editorial.
Yes, there you go. No, I'm just going to leave
expressed in
it.
this editorial are not necessarily the views of Grace's son. Oh, no, wait a minute. Yes, they are.
Yes, indeed. If you would love a day of being able to waste your time, definitely go through the American medical system. Or the Canadian one. The Canadian one, at least if you spend 15 hours there, they don't refuse you at the door.
Yeah.
This way, it's like, sorry, but it's deciding if you must pay your bill before they do no harm for you.
Yeah.
The Hippocratic Oath has been reversed.
Yes. If you don't pay your bill, then they're allowed to do harm. Actually,
Yes.
I think is what it says in the Hippocratic Oath. So, that.
Yep. So this political message was brought to you by the fact that it's like we're joyful that it's like soon Donald Trump will be impeached, with any luck. 6 Senate votes, people. 6 of them. Let's make sure that all 6 people say, yeah, impeach him. Get rid of him. Anyways, that being said, we have 3 amazing topics tonight, but let's start off with our most bizarre one. Reboots. We have now gotten into television reboots.
Oh, yes.
They are now making the, 3rd attempt at the Munsters?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, Fourth if you count the original Munsters. But in terms of reboots, yes, this is the third reboot attempt.
Okay. So this is like the Spider-Man for television.
Yeah.
Of reboot attempts.
Yes.
In case Tobey Maguire wasn't good enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Trying to reboot the series is, I don't know that it's probably not, it's when they reboot them, they try to change it to make it a little different or more politically correct or something or whatever they do to them. But when they do these reboots, they don't do all that well. They might be better off to, instead of doing a TV series, do a movie series where they do 2 or 3.
They do that.
Do another Munster movie. Maybe that'll go over better than a TV series.
Well, it's like here's a wacky idea. You can also do the Munsters 25 years late. 40 years later. Eddie's all grown up and has his own family. Try for a different premise.
Right.
They are going to have a different premise. Now, instead of living in a spooky house at 1313 Mockingbird Lane, they're living in hipster Brooklyn.
Wow. It's like...
Oh, boy.
There is no words.
Yeah, that should be... So, instead of... If they're going for hipsterville, does that mean they won't be wearing all black and and they're not in a haunted, spooky old house? They're in a nice modern house or something, or so they'll actually have color to their clothing instead of being black and white.
Think of it as monsters instead of Modern Family.
Ay.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
yes. Oh, yes. Don't talk about casting yet.
There has been some word on casting, but the words haven't exactly, screamed to you Munsters.
Well, I read one article where they were, trying to predict who would play, and said that the article said Alan Ruck would make a great Herman Munster. And I'm kind of like, not in this lifetime, no.
Okay.
Nothing personal against Alan Ruck. I like Alan Ruck. I think he's a very good actor. Not Herman Munster. I mean, if you're going to go Herman Munster, why don't we start at Brad Garrett?
Okay. I was also thinking the guy who played Bola Night Court also.
Oh, Richard Mall, yeah.
Yeah, Richard Mall. Yeah, he would make a good Herman Munster.
If you really, really wanted to have that sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, again, one of the things that I will also reiterate, this is where things like, this is why a lot of people I can see go to Netflix and places like that for watching TV series, because they're not rebooting any of these series that they're picking up. Roseanne is continuing from where it left off. In terms of the Gilmore Girls, it continued where it left off.
Same with Arrested Development.
Yes, Arrested Development, Fuller House, the same thing. It's like, this is DJ's story. It's not anybody else's story.
Yeah.
It's like, to me, it's one of those things of why reboot when it's like, it really, if you thought that the show needed it, it's like, here's an idea, 8 is enough, the continuation story.
Yes.
Let's find out what happened to all 8 of them. And all 90 of their children.
Yeah, I was going to say, they could call it 64 is way too many.
Exactly. The continuation of 8 is enough.
Yes.
Or it's like, you know what? Waltons, what happened when John Boy got married?
And left to be a newspaper reporter.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I think they'd have better luck with a continuance than trying to reboot the original.
Yes.
I mean, when you think about it, you know, Lily and Grandpa are vampires. They don't age.
Right.
Herman
Yes.
is a Frankenstein monster. He
Hmm.
doesn't age.
Yes.
So the only two characters that have to age are Marilyn and Eddie.
Yes.
And it can be their families and Grandma and Grandpa Munster and Great Grandpa, you know.
Hmm. So again, it's one of those things of, and sadly, the original actors have passed. So yes, you can get new actors, but the guy who played
Butch
Eddie, I
Patrick?
believe, no, not Butch Patrick. The original ones who played Lily Munster and
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah,
They're out.
yes. Unfortunately, it's like he died the one who played Herman Munster right after My Cousin Vinny.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure, like, with like Thing could be, I don't see it could, it could Thing could always transition the hands of time and last for a while.
And again, it's like when you exactly, it's like one of those things. And like the one who's Marilyn, it's like she passed away, so okay, you'd have to get a new Marilyn,
And,
or
well, like,
or it would be Marilyn's granddaughter.
well, yeah, or you, and there's like, and as far as it it could be ageless.
It's from the Addams family.
Oh,
So it's
I'm
Thing,
sorry.
as a matter of fact.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you're
Which,
right. I'm sorry.
yes, which I'm surprised that they're not trying to reboot that too.
All right, I'm sorry. Got my
Well, after the
Munsters
movie
Addams
series
vibes.
killed Raul Julia, they were
Yeah.
probably afraid to.
Right.
Well, and they had this really cute series for a while there on YouTube of like a grown-up Wednesday Addams. They should have maybe picked that up. An adult Wednesday Addams. It's like maybe they should have considered something like that.
That would be
Right.
creepy.
It was actually. I think it lasted like 2 seasons, and then something happened to that show. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But the point is that with reboots, it's not exactly the greatest idea in the world.
No.
If you're going to reboot a series, you should be looking at it from the perspective of the maybe continue, don't reboot. It's okay. Reboots in film, it's like, again, it's a shaky category all on its own.
Yeah.
Reboots in television, no.
And although technically, the Munsters today was not a reboot. It was a sequel, intended to be a sequel, because the premise was that Grandpa had invented a machine that, what do they call it?
Like a time traveling machine.
Not time traveling, but where you sleep for a long time.
Okay, like a deprivation
it's like cryogenics.
Yeah. He invented this thing, and they all went into it, and then they came out in the 1970s.
Yep.
Cryogenic chamber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, and it's like, one of the ones that I would say would be a hilarious comedy if you really, really wanted to do a continuation, the Brady grandchildren.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would be funny. That would be
but think of all the squares they'd have to put. It's a good thing we have widescreen TVs now, because think of all the squares.
That's right. Here's a story of 3 sisters who had a whole bunch of children.
And the story of their 3 half-brothers who also had a whole bunch of children, or step-brothers.
Yeah.
And all the children are, getting
married. Yeah.
They're all marrying each other and becoming inbred hillbillies. And they discover oil in the land, and they move to Beverly Hills. Oh my God!
You'd have all 6 of them across. you'd have all 6 of them across the top of the screen, and all
Yep.
the kids underneath each one of their pictures. So you'd have like a screen full of pictures.
That's right. And then you'd have to have like the newest little Brady in the middle, going ah.
Right.
It's like the Brady grandbaby.
No, it's too bad Ann B. Davis isn't still alive because they could put her in the middle going, ah!
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you know which series I really would love to see a continuation on or a reboot of? If you ever had to reboot another series, The Facts of Life.
Oh, I thought we were going to go to Green Acres.
You'd want to see a reboot of Green Acres?
No, I thought you were going to go see for a reboot of what you'd really
Actually,
like to see.
don't knock Green Acres. Of all of the rural comedies CBS produced, Green Acres was very probably the funniest.
But you have to understand, it's like that's already the Donald Trump story.
True.
It's like Melania married him, goodbye to real life.
Yeah.
Right.
Reproduced in Green Acres, she is there.
Yes.
They've already done that.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's a sitcom who can never get canceled.
Okay, so we did it in a real life version instead of a TV version. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But definitely, I would want rebooted if you could have anything. Is The Facts of Life.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
There was a lot of good morals in there that even hang true to today.
Right.
Especially that human trafficking episode that they had. Did anybody know that they had a human trafficking episode?
No.
Yep. Tootie goes to New York, meets up with it's like is following because she was told she couldn't go. She decides to sneak off to New York, meets up with this girl in after she loses her jacket and loses all of her stuff. It's like gets into this cafe, and she meets up with this girl that's there, and she's like, sitting there saying, hey, it's like, and they strike up a friendship ish, and she's like, my uncle's over there, or I believe, it's like a friend of mine is over there, and she winds up saying it's like, well, hey, Tootie, we were going to come home with me. It's like, we have all kinds of great stuff at our house, kind of thing, and it's like, and I don't have any responsibility. I believe it was like she called the guy her boyfriend at the time, and then the waitress pulled Tootie aside and says, you don't want to go with those people. And she's like, why? And she's like, do you not notice that he's on the phone all the time? He's arranging dates for her, kind of thing. And discovers that, she's being put out to prostitute. And then she's like, please come home with me. You don't know how much trouble I'm going to be in if you don't. He's going to, it's like, and it's like Tootie, the other girls find her in New York. They take her away. And, it's like you get this one shot of her looking back at this girl. So they dealt with human trafficking in a very early age.
Wow. Which is why, which Facts of Life character was featured prominently in the human trafficking episode will never be a you don't know Jack question.
Yes.
Because the answer is never Tootie. And they yell at you about that if you guess Tootie.
But yeah. So they dealt with a lot of heavy-handed subjects like that. Underage drinking. Like when Joe brought the beer in the house, and she's like, I got beer. She's like, okay, where did you find? And she's like, look, I got beer. Don't worry, They dealt with a lot of very interesting episodes, that TV series. And honestly, it would be really great information for kids of today. The stories that they have are extremely relevant.
And besides, Blair was hot.
Well, there you go. And Lisa Welch's still alive. And single, apparently. I
Well,
believe.
yeah, who would want to marry a slut like that? Oh, sorry, no, don't go there. Don't go there, Richard.
Yep. And so, yeah, out of all series that I would say would need a reboot or would be a good idea, it's like Different Strokes dealt with a pedophile issue.
Yes, it did. Gordon Jump played the pedophile, which was like
Yep.
a real shocking departure.
Oh yeah.
I think that's
That
what made the episode so shocking.
yeah, that show literally like that episode creeped me out and still does to this day. I rewatched it on YouTube and I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh my god." Now, you can't redo a show like that because a lot of the subject matter is commonplace.
yeah,
It, maybe that one episode, but I mean, facts of life dealing with the human trafficking thing, it's like the only thing that they would sit there and say is like, why did they need Mrs. Garrett for that extremely long a period of time?
yeah.
And then even Mrs. Garrett was a relevant, pertinent person. So it just goes to show you that we're looking at it's like if you're looking towards things, maybe the Munsters wasn't the direction you wanted to go.
No. What this country needs is another Dick Van Dyke show.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And
Well,
he's still
or-
alive.
It's
Yeah.
Or Mary Tyler Moore show. Yeah.
Yes. Reboot the Mary Tyler Moore. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Those-
Jerry Van Dyke, who I always thought was funnier than Dick
Yes.
Van Dyke.
It's like, well, Dick Van Dyke's like 70 something, but he's
90.
still,
90 something.
Yeah,
90, 90.
and he can
oh,
still dance.
Yep. So yes, it's like definitely would want to do that. Another show that would be, like I said, in terms of that, it would be better either you continue a show or it's like you could even do a Facts of Life sort of continuation
Uh-huh.
in that sense because all of the actors still are alive and still able to work, and you can have them come in as guest appearances.
Tootie could be the new
Mrs. Garrett.
Mrs. Garrett at the school.
Right. Right. Move them up. It's like move them up the ranks. Yeah, you could do that.
Yep.
That could work.
And Blair is like the principal
Right.
of the school. Joe comes by for a visit every once in a while, and so does Natalie. You got the ideal TV series right there.
Or either Joe or Natalie could turn into be in other words, Tootie is the replaces Miss Garrett, and like you said, Blair goes on to be the principal of the school. Maybe Joe or Natalie actually become teachers at the school.
Yep.
Natalie could be some sort of a English teacher, math teacher, something like that, and Joe could be maybe the gym teacher.
Mm-hmm. And look at what happens when certain continuation shows, like Boy Meets World, now there's Girl Meets World. So it works.
And the girl is the boy's daughter, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, it's like Tootie could have one of like a daughter going to Eastland.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of thing. Or Joe can have a daughter going to Eastland and be one of the parents.
Right.
Because didn't she get married or something like that towards the end? One of them did.
I don't know. I can't. I said I don't recall.
Anyways, I know that Natalie lost her virginity to the snake guy, but anyways, that's neither here nor there. It's like the point is that yeah, you can play a lot with episodes of what happens after. So really, it became highly unnecessary to do a reboot of a series that was already successful in its own run.
Yeah.
That has really no pertinence, though, also, unfortunately, to today's society. It has
Very
the tendency to be able to become another Married with Children with irrelevance. Married with Children was relevant at the time
Yeah.
of its series and very much ahead of its time, but a scenario like that today is not relevant. Again, very commonplace.
In
So-
fact, I think Married with Children has been the longest running non-animated, non-reality competition program that Fox ever had.
Married with Children was the one with Peg and Al Bundy.
Yes, I know, and that
Yeah.
ran for eight seasons, I think.
Yeah.
It was on for a very, very long time. It was one of their flagship shows.
Yep. And I really hope the TV networks are listening to this, because it's like, start getting it out there, the more stuff. It's like, you can reboot, you don't need to reboot it, you can continue Pretender. You can continue quite a few of these shows that they really left us too soon, or would have pertinence to today.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, it's like
Except
a lot.
for Lost in Space. Lost in Space would get a little bit too weird. Because, it would have to be Will and Penny and their children, and that, ooh, no.
No. But again, it gives different opportunities to be able to have some very interesting characters come through and some interesting storylines.
That it does, yeah.
So that being said, it's like, any final thoughts on dealing with this sort of thing?
Well,
that you
speaking
think
of Lost in Space, I would like to say that I think I would enjoy a reboot of Lost in Space if they made Dr. Zachary Smith the character that he was for the first 5 or 6 episodes of the original series. He was truly evil. He threatened to use the robot to smash Will's head if the Robinsons didn't do what he said. I mean, he was just totally without morals or ethics for 6 episodes, and then all of a sudden they decided they had to make him a buffoon.
Yeah. Well, maybe that might be worthy of a exploration.
I think it is.
Yeah. So again, TV networks hope that you've been listening to some of this information, or people who work for television, because we've been giving you gold here.
Yeah. And as inquiring minds want to know what these, continuations would be like.
Yeah. They probably would be great. So there we go. It's like we have dealing with that. Now, which brings us to our next topic, though, because we're talking about do continuations and all of that, and dealing with a very interesting thing of talking about hiring the right people for the job.
Right.
Now, we've talked about the relationships in regards to these, to how important it is to develop between actor, director, DP, director, editors, directors, etc. But we never talked about the actual criteriums for hiring people. The type of process that a lot of people use in their hiring practices. Because some people still believe that it's like, Hollywood is still that old casting couch idea. Let's throw that out right now. Does anybody else believe that there's a casting couch idea?
There's no more casting couches? Damn it, I quit.
Uh-huh.
No, okay, I unquit.
Yes. It's like Hollywood has. It's like we have a lot of newer systems put in place for being able to hire actors, and dealing with the auditioning process, etc. over the years. Am I saying that there is no casting couch? I'd be lying and saying that oh no, and we all live in Pat Boonville.
There you go.
Yes, there is still possibilities of that process. That being said, when you look at hiring in terms of your DPs, your talent, auditions are for our actors. In terms of hiring your crew, a lot of times what you want to do is you want to look at, for example, with a DP, their demo reel. A demo reel is very telling of the story, and I have gone through some interesting demo reels in my time, and I have to admit, we must talk about some of these incredible shots that I have received of views from DPs. Would everybody like to demonstrate these shots on TV? Arpa, would you like to start with the first shot? That's considered to be a great version of cinematography.
Which shot is that?
The extreme close-up.
I know.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Olaf. Which one?
Olaf can do it. Yeah, Olaf can do it better than I can
Yes.
because he's on his phone.
Okay, go for it, Olaf.
There we go. Are you ready? Can you see me? Hello.
Yes.
The extreme close-up. This is the extreme close-up. Catch the eyebrows and everything. Yes.
Yep. And then there's the other extreme close-up. The one
Okay,
where
yes.
they cut off your head.
Yes. Where you get the...
Now that I can do. See?
There's the other extreme close-up.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are doing extremely well on this.
Yes.
Or my favorite extreme close-up.
Then you have this. Oh, wait a minute.
Yep. That's my. Those are my favorite shots.
So
Yes,
then you have the
up the nose shot.
up the nostril shot. Yeah, there
Yes. The up the nostril
The
close-up because
it's like the down the nostril shot.
Yep. No. Arpo had another one, which is exactly what I've seen. Half the head is in the shot.
Yeah, it's like you can do that one.
Yes. Another one that's really great is this one. Because I need to see every pore of your skin.
Yes.
Because that's considered a close-up.
That's the full face close-up.
Uh-huh. And then, here's my favorite next shot. Can we tell what this shot is?
That's the half shot, the half face shot.
Uh-huh. Thank you, Boom Miker.
Sure. Hey, get that boom mic out of the picture.
Uh-huh. But yes, that's the half face shot, and then there's the
half face with a tilt.
Yes.
That would be a tilt shot.
Yes, exactly.
And the half face shot with a up and nose shot.
Yep.
Or just the standard tilt shot. Okay, guys, this shot has not been used since Batman on TV.
But apparently by some DPs. And then there is always the lovely other shot of I start down here and I work my way up shot.
Yes.
As though I need to see your feet.
Yes.
Or need to see your midsection area.
Yes.
Because that's absolutely the shot that I need to see first when coming onto camera. Never mind the focus on the actual person. But these, unfortunately, have been shots that I've seen. Trailers.
And it's like what about the extreme close up and soft focus instead of?
Yes.
Give it that artistic.
The WC wanted his extreme close up too.
Yes. And you see, he was kind of soft featured.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like I call that the Vaseline shot.
Yeah.
Because they literally had to spray Vaseline on the camera lens in order to do that.
But it gives it a nice dreamy effect.
Well, because also some actors are vain and they don't want to show their wrinkles.
Don't they know wrinkles provide character?
Apparently not.
Oh, well, then never mind.
Yeah. But hiring the right person means that it's like when you're looking at a film, think what style of film that you want to shoot in. Now, if that is a style, and it really is a style for some people, it's like they want that sort of funky looking, weird kind of camera thing. You know what? Those DPs are the ones for you. And then another one is editors. There are editors who are great at what they do in terms of feature films, in terms of television series, stuff like that, but cannot cut a trailer to save their life.
Nope, 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 nope.
You want a trailer editor for a trailer. You want your editor for the full film.
And the reason you want a trailer editor for your trailer is because trailer editors, well, trailer editing is a really specific art. I've talked about this before.
Yes.
You have roughly 2.5 minutes to make people want to spend $10 to $15 to see this movie.
Yep.
And that's not easy.
No. And then it comes down to also another thing that you want to hire the right person for the job, dealing with pitch videos, which we had a lovely discussion, and I encourage people to find it if they can from the Heart Productions regarding their fiscal sponsorship. It's on their website. I'm not sure. Carol Dean and Carol Joyce hosted a wonderful discussion on that about pitching about the pitch, about pitching trailers, and like pitches for crowdfunding as well. Now, another person who I will recommend, and you know what, I don't even get an endorsement from them, but they're just that kind of good person, is Simon Sinnott. Him and John Trigonis both are very good pieces of information for pitch information. Which, as I said, when you are looking at your at hiring, even your ADs, from your camera people straight on through, you have got to start looking at who is the team that you want to work with. Because it's not only the working team of, I have the people who I'm working with financially that are providing for me. It's who do you want to work with in terms of getting the look of the film that you want, or getting the look of the television series you want. Who is it that can make that happen for the actual production? And a lot of people tend to gloss over that as a meh. It's like yes, a good editor can save a whole lot of things, but a good editor is not always available to save it.
And always remember that the pitch is the most important part of the project. Because without a good pitch, the project don't happen.
Yes. It is very dead in the water. So, a little bit of information. Yeah, go on, Olaf.
No,
You're going to ask. Were you going to ask a question?
No.
Okay.
Were you going to make a suitably witty comment?
I probably was, but St. Grayson threw me off.
Oh man. Sorry, too much Dora and Thomas the Tank Engine. That segue.
Yes.
Okay, so it's like basically when you're looking at your crew, a lot of things that are really, really good is some people want to choose to handpick their crew that they want to work with. This is a very good idea to do in a lot of cases, but also in some cases, it's also good to rely on who they believe that the people who you hire, who they feel that it makes a good team along with it. And I'll tell you why. Because it's like, yes, obviously they are loyal to the person who hired them. But a lot of times, the people who get hired with these teams, they're actually really super good and super busy that wouldn't have been able to be there otherwise. So it's like it might be somebody who was a really famous cinematographer, or somebody who was a really famous editor, or a famous lighting person. If they come aboard your project, you should be considering it to be one of those things of not, they're loyal to that person. Sometimes you have to also look at it from the angle of, I'm getting somebody who would have normally not been available to me.
Right.
By just a little bit of sacrifice.
And please, 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 this is very important. I mean, you do want to hire someone that you could get along with.
Yes.
But please bear in mind that is not the first criteria.
Yes. You want the person who is great for the project and that you can get along with.
Yes.
But great for the project being first.
Yes.
Sometimes
we all want to hire our friends.
Sure.
But they may not be right for the project.
Right.
And I'm going to shut up now before I shoot myself in the foot.
Shh, your boss isn't listening.
Oh, that's right.
But I am, and I'll tell your boss.
Okay. It's now on tape.
Yeah.
I'm listening, and
I happen to know for a fact that she watches this show.
Uh-huh.
In fact, she's never missed a single episode of it.
Nope,
yes, she has.
Oh, yes, she has.
Yes, she has.
Yep.
Well, no, she watched it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So, it's one of those things. She sees you when you're sleeping. She knows when you're awake.
She knows if you've been talking out of line, so shut up, for goodness sake.
That's right. So it's like, therefore, for all of us who understand that, it's like, in regards to picking your crew, really look at when you're picking your crew, not only about, yes, it's about personalities, but look at it from the what's best for the actual show as well.
Yes.
Because sometimes having somebody, it's like you can adjust personalities.
Right.
And adapt to personalities. You can't adapt to artistic skill.
That's right.
And sometimes the ones that may have the skill set or artistic skill that you need are probably going to be hard to get along with. They're going to be hard to work with, but that's what makes them so good at what they do.
Exactly. They're good at what they do so that you can be good at what you do.
Right.
It's that whole, if you don't look good, they don't look good theory. So, in a hiring process, what you are also looking for is you are also looking at demo reels. Demo reels is a really great thing, but I will argue that sometimes a resume hits above a demo reel. If somebody has, it's like in terms of that, a lot of people want to hire people with tons of experience. I would argue that sometimes somebody new and fresh and bright will bring a better perspective.
Possibly, yes.
Yep. But one of the interesting arguments that we're talking about in one of the webinars, which it's like that I was listening to, is talking about the idea of the millennial versus and is your company in for the long haul or is it in for the short term? And millennials versus our principles of today. So it was really interesting to have that discussion. on there. So, and it's like I would highly encourage you to listen to all of those webinars, ladies and gentlemen, because they were really quite interesting, and will give you a really good insight into looking for people in your company, beyond the box.
So we have to look outside the box.
Yes.
And inside the box.
Yep.
And underneath the box.
Yep.
And sometimes behind the box.
Yep. And definitely around the box. Because those boxes have really super tight lids.
Yes.
So, which brings us then also to our final subject tonight, which I thought was an interesting article that I came across on IndieWire. It says, why studios are not making great comedy films anymore, according to Judge Apetow. Now, this man is king's worth of comedy and rom-com. Judd Apatow, 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, The Big Sick, Snatched, Baywatch. It's like, all of the Roughneck in the House have all bombed. It's like things like that. But he's done things like, Knocked Up, 40-Year-Old Virgin, which were like huge hits. So this man knows what he speaks. And he goes on to say that he recently sat down for a wide-ranging discussion about why a lot of the why good comedy isn't being done anymore by studios. And what he says is, after the last writer's strike, it felt like the studios decided not to develop movies. They used to buy scripts, and they had big teams of people to give notes. They worked for years with people in collaboration on those scripts. And I feel that the studios don't buy many scripts now. It used to be you'd open up Variety and you'd see a movie studio had just bought a big high concept comedy. Now they would rather things come in and packaged and a script with cast and director and everything. As a result, a lot of the great comedy writers are going to television instead of sitting at home and trying to write a script for a film. They basically say, write the way I was. They don't any longer write the way he does anyways. So that's paraphrasing the thing here. He says, Baywatch, for instance, was packaged as a Dwayne Johnson comedy vehicle, and that was enough to get Paramount on board, given the massive popularities. But studios no longer searching for incubating comedy scripts the way that they used to. Now, we understand the studios have now been made into a tentpole universe. And this article is very, very interesting because, honestly, it's like, to hear it, it's really sad, would be the only word that I can use for it. Depressing would be another word.
I think possibly maybe the studios have just lost their sense of humor.
Mm-hmm. We know that they've become a tentpole universe. But it's also really one of those things of that he's right. A lot of the independent universe has become a really big fight in the market when you've got these studios who really don't stand behind, something new and original.
Yeah. Very true.
And it's kind of sucking the industry dry, like bone marrow. Because a lot of great talent, it's going to television in terms of a lot of this talent, but even television is closing down a lot of window opportunities.
Yeah.
Because as we're having shrinking, as we have, windowing, and we have, what's considered comedy, it's like we've really sanitized a lot of shows. If you think about it, we have far more conservative shows now than we did in the 80s.
Do you think? I was going to say, do you think some of this might be because Some of the comedy was not quite politically correct, and now they're not really doing the comedy as much because they're trying to get more politically correct in their stuff.
It's possible. And it's a real shame because a lot of artistic stuff suffers for it. In terms of comedy, it's like, what kinds of comedy do you guys like?
Funny ones.
Well, I think there's no doubt about the kind of comedy I like.
Yeah.
I like the laughs to come so fast that you have to see it a couple of times to catch everything. I have a screenplay which I'm currently rewriting,
Mm-hmm.
and apart from the prologue, I mean, from the opening credits on, I don't think there's more than 20 seconds that goes by without a gag.
Yeah. Which will
I
make
mean,
it that much more interesting.
it's just one gag after another, and there's a complete plot and a really kind of almost complex storyline to it.
Right.
But there's just joke after joke after joke after joke after joke. It just keeps going and going and going.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to see how much humor I could cram into a 90-minute screenplay.
Yeah.
And people who read the original are like, "Oh my God, this is the funniest thing I've ever read."
It's like there's nothing like a good slapstick comedy.
Yeah, in the style of Airplane and
Mm-hmm.
The Naked Gun.
Right.
And yet, at the same time, you know what? It's like Airplane would today be rejected right away by the studios. And Naked Gun as well.
Actually, Judd Apetow, I think, in one of his interviews, said that he said that if Airplane came out today, it would make $1 billion.
Not if studios were doing it. If it was independent, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that's why in order to have a really good comedy, you have to go independent because studios don't want really good comedies. And I think they have shown us this time after time after time. The only good comedies I see come from the independent filmmakers. The big studio comedies are boring.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I have to say, I think it's because they try to make it more sterile and more politically correct, and not step on anybody's toes. Where the independents are like going, yeah, nope, we're going to do it this way because it's funnier.
Yeah. And one of the things that it's like we found interesting is like what forms of censorship have been included into today's day and age of certain movies, certain shows between countries.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like it shocks me when I look at some of the things between even countries of what's censored. I look at British comedies and it's like there are so few things that are censored on them, and I'm like, oh my God, these things are hysterical.
Yes. I mean, if I'll tell you right now, if the title of the movie has the words "carry on" in it, get ready to laugh because it's going to just be a complete lark with lots of sex.
Yes.
But the Carry On series of movies are just, oh my God, they are so funny.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only mild pornography. It's not, really heavy duty.
But so is Benny Hill.
It's yeah, exactly. It's sex comedy.
Yeah.
I know, yeah, Buddy. Well, Buddy Hill, he's just a lecherous old man, but still, he's funny.
He
Right?
was funny. From the get-go, it was always funny.
Yes.
You know, it's like even some of the things like Smothers Brothers did. Hee-haw.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that these shows did, it's like back then, you wouldn't be able to do today.
No. And the same with movies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you look at Blazing Saddles, an absolutely riotous movie. One of the funniest movies ever made. I think it's in the EFI's top 10 of funniest movies ever made.
Yeah.
Right.
They'd never make it today.
No.
No.
Well, you it's like in the couple of the scenes in there well, like when he decks the horse, you know, animal rights activists would be all over that. It's like, because, you know, even though he didn't actually hit the horse.
No, the horse was very well trained.
Yes. You know,
Yep.
the horse didn't get hurt in that. He was trained to do all that. But yeah, they wouldn't allow that. And like the bean scene around the fire, yeah, that wouldn't go.
Yeah.
And all the use of the N word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that's originally Richard Pryor was supposed to do it, and I think it was Warner Brothers that put the movie out. They called Mel Brooks in and said, you can't have there's two versions to the story. According to Mel Brooks, he was called into the office, but was told, you can't have Richard Pryor be in the movie. And Brooks is like, why? He wrote half of it.
Yeah.
And he said he can't be in the movie because he just put out an album called That Nigger Is Crazy. I apologize for using the word, but that's what the album was called.
Uh-huh.
And they said, you know, we don't feel that that's the right thing, you know, the right kind of person that we want to project in this project. And Mel Brooks reputedly looked at the studio head and said, have you read the script?
Yeah.
Now, according to Gene Wilder, the reason Richard Pryor got cut from the part was because he called the morning that shooting was supposed to start and said, I'm in Cleveland and I don't know why.
Okay.
And Mel Brooks decided, okay, time to recast.
Yes. That was before they had the handlers.
Yes.
In the traditional sense of handlers.
Yes, I'm in Cleveland, and I'm not sure, how or why I'm here.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's kind of like that classic 3-second shot of Dudley Moore onto the balcony in Mexico after in the movie 10, after he's been on pain pills and alcohol, and he's finally woken up to a mariachi band. He comes out on the balcony. He's like, where the hell am I? The look on his face is absolutely priceless.
Mm-hmm. And it's true. It's like, and this is something that, it's like those are those movie moments that you say you can never get back.
Yes.
You know, it's like there is some really touching movie moments.
Yes.
So for all of those,
Apetow makes a very good argument about one thing, though.
mm-hmm.
That comedies get snubbed by Hollywood.
Yes.
Like, oh, well, it's just a comedy.
Yeah.
And, you know, great British comic actor Edmund Lear, on his deathbed, reputedly said, when they asked, you're dying, how does it feel? He reputedly said, dying is easy, comedy is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Apatow, it's like, Hollywood seems to want to have all these traumatic moments and all these things. They want to make people cry. It's like, you want to make someone cry? Shoot a dog. Kill a dog. They'll cry. What's hard is to make people laugh.
Yes.
Right.
Because everybody has a different sense of humor, and timing
Yep.
has to be absolutely spot on for a comedy to make it. That's why so many of Judd Apatow's films were so good. There was great timing. I mean, do James Franco and Seth Meyers make funny stuff? Yeah, they do, but it doesn't seem to have the care that Judd Apatow took with the movies that he made. They feel kind of slapped together.
Mm-hmm. But they're also younger into this, so...
Yeah.
You know, they'll get seasoned over time.
Yes. And they do make a good team. They play off of each other wonderfully.
Yes. And I always say that there's room for everybody at the table.
That's right.
You know, let's not say that, you know, one specific will beat out the other, because yes, there is room for everyone.
Right.
We just have to have a smart way about it. And yes, Judd Apatow is correct. It's like, you know what? A lot of studios have stopped taking chances on indie films and movies. There was a time that they took a lot of chances and risk.
Now they don't, because they're afraid of being sued for putting the wrong thing out.
Mm-hmm. And what they've done in essence is sanitize it.
Yeah.
And
who wants sanitized comedy?
Yeah, really.
You know, it's like, and it's like also what certain people believe to be comedy. To others is that walks an iffy line.
Yeah.
You know, it's like comedy to the sense of that it insults others. I don't find that to be comedy unless you're talking about Don Rickles. Don Rickles knew how to do it, but he knew how to do it right.
Yes.
He can insult you without actually insulting you.
Yeah.
In the most sensitive, loving way.
Yes. Because he would insult you in a way that said, you know, I don't really mean this.
Yeah.
Right. Where he talk about it, where he would come out on stage, and there'd be a little bit of a heavy-set person in the front, and he'd look at him and make the comment, "Is there anything in here you haven't eaten?" You know, everybody laughs, and it's like, you know, they don't get offended by it. It's more. I didn't deliver it the way he would have, but and his delivery of that comment, everybody was like, "Oh, that was funny."
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like you found the buffet early.
Yeah.
You know, and again, not insulting. It's like, yes, comedic humor, not insulting humor.
Yes. And he came by it honestly. He actually developed his act.
Mm-hmm.
Like so many comedians, he would do the Poconos.
Yep.
And you get a lot of drunks.
Yep.
In those places, and people, you know, drunks would start heckling his act.
Mm-hmm.
And so he started insulting them back, and that's how the whole thing was born.
Yeah.
And he just got so good at it that's what he became known for, was being able to insult people.
Yeah.
You know, his first album was called Hello Dummy.
Mm-hmm.
And my God, is it a funny album. Again, very politically incorrect.
Yeah. A lot of these comedians, of the way that they were back then, I'm not sure whether they would have a career now.
Yeah.
Because people would have sanitized them.
Mm-hmm.
And be like, you can't say those things.
Yeah.
You're offending one group or another. Sometimes we have to understand it's just comedy. Other times, yeah, they are being insulting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with the comic, I mean, you can tell if they're being serious, if they're just making a comedic,
Tongue-in-cheek statement, yes.
tongue-in-cheek statement.
Yeah. It's one thing to make a comedic insult. It's another thing to pull a Michael Ritchie.
Yeah.
And totally blow your cool on the stage.
Right.
What he did was horribly, horribly wrong.
Yeah.
But Don Rickles was so good at, he could get away with saying things like, black people don't admit that they're black anymore. They all say they're Jamaican.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I'm from Jamaica, man. And then he'd lean down to someone in the front row and say, are the black guys in the back laughing? If you see a flash of white teeth, this is not an ivory hunt.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
And I mean, like, he just had a knack for it. So,
Yeah.
really, it gets down to our other argument as well of, like, the teaching of, yes, there are certain things in terms of comedy. And it's like, when, and another quote from Judd Apatow: when you do a big broad comedy and it fails, it's easy to be a target for criticism. He says,
Yeah.
I also don't think critics have a great respect for the effort it takes to make people pee their pants laughing. They think it's more honorable to show someone in torment or being able to do that. And that's exactly what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
It also,
Right.
another quote from this article, which I found really interesting, that nearly all comedies that bombed this summer all came together as a package deal, meaning studios aren't necessarily focused on quality as much as they are on how marketable and profitable the package can be.
Yeah. Well, we've seen how well that works.
Yeah.
From Girls' Night Out, the one exception, or Girls' Trip rather, the one exception of the summer that just did huge business.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of movies that, on paper, you went, oh yeah, look at the director, look at the writer, look at the stars. Oh man, this thing has got legs.
Mm-hmm.
No.
I didn't.
No. And that's not to say that they're bad movies. Mm-hmm. That's just to say that, Hollywood is trying to make a formula for comedy, and there isn't a formula for comedy.
No. There never has been.
Either you can either be funny or not.
Yeah.
If you're not funny to begin with, there's no way to learn how to be funny.
No.
The only true formula for comedy is timing.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Delivering the right line at the right time with the right inflections.
Yep.
It's all about timing.
And it's true, because it's like, it's make them laugh, and and a lot of comedians have lived a tragic life.
Yeah.
Out of tragedy does come a lot of great comedy.
Right.
Yes.
And unless you research it's like unless you do some extensive research or a little bit of research on the comedian, and when they're telling these horror stories of them growing up, you think it's funny because they tell it in a funny way, but when you find out, it's like, oh wow, they actually went through all
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's how they wound up being a comedian.
Exactly.
Because how they grew up was so horrible. The only way they could get through it was to make fun of themselves, make fun of themselves and everybody else around them, and make it a joke. And that's the only way they could actually survive it.
Exactly. Because it was that tragic. Now, that being said, also tonight, for all of you who are wondering, why is this not my regular movie time show? It's like so. In regards to that, it's like here's a great idea. The idea being that we decided tonight, because technically we have now hit beyond our seasons of episodes. So we are giving you these great bonus episodes. So we decided to go a little bit light tonight with all of you. We will be back into our deeper conversations as well. And even though this is a deep conversation, we're hoping that you are actually enjoying some of this as well, because it really is informative as well.
Right. This is a deep conversation in the shallow end.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that being said, Olaf, how do they stalk you on social media?
Well, you can stalk me on both Facebook and Twitter at Olaf Barbosa, but just don't stalk too close, because I do get nervous and I do have an itchy trigger finger.
And Arpo, how do they get you on social media?
Well, if you want to be social, you can get me on Facebook. If you want to talk business, you can get me on LinkedIn. And, of course, you can always just Skype me, but robots need not apply.
Excellent. Nor Armenian women.
Nor Armenian women, yes.
Yep. And for me, you can get me on LinkedIn, Bizipedia, on Facebook, on Twitter, at Sonata Grayson, at Movietime Indie, as well as also you can get me on several www.pastlivesproductionsinc.net, as well as we are happy to announce that there are some great progresses that are going on with the website, so please do check it out as it's going along. Also, coming up next week, we are looking to book in our improv girls. So if you've been looking forward to that show, hopefully we will be able to catch up with them on Wednesday.
Woo-hoo.
That is going to be some fun.
So if you love improv, definitely you'll be looking out for this show that's coming up. And with that being said, we love all of you fans. Keep writing us also fan letters. Sadly, no fan letter in the last 2 days.
Aww.
I know, sad face. But we will see you again on the next week, and hopefully we have a fan letter from all of you. Take care.
Thanks for
I
listening.
think she needs some more of your snake oil. Good night, all.